In the 1980s, Kodak was looking for a new mascot for the Japanese market, and for some reason, perhaps lost in the dim mists of history, they lit onto perhaps the most unlikely candidate in all of human history: Kiko, the son of Kong. Son of Kong was released in December of 1933, holding the distinction of being one of the few movie sequels released the same year as the original. King Kong was a monster success, so RKO Pictures immediately demanded a sequel. Merian C. Cooper promised them the moon, a bigger, grander, more exciting adventure that would have Carl Denham return to Skull Island to meet with a juvenile Kong and discover the secrets of the island's lost civilization before it was destroyed by an awe-inspiring cataclysm. RKO were excited, but decided to slash the film's budget to half of King Kong's and set a deadline for December of the same year to capitalize on both the buzz around King Kong and the lucrative Christmas season. The result was a film that has the bare bones of Cooper's pie in the sky promises, but ended up being much less ambitious than its father. I have an entire video about the Son of Kong that could have been for more details. Because the final result was much less impressive than the greatest Hollywood adventure film of all time, Son of Kong quickly became a footnote in cinema history. It is a charming little epilogue that wraps up the original film nicely, but it never inspired much love or regard of its own. The film ends definitively, with no possibility of another sequel. The Son of Kong, nicknamed Kiko as a portmanteau of King Kong, became just a one off character. Like his movie, a mere footnote to his bigger daddy. While King Kong was a perennial favorite of cinemas, merchandising, and famous Monsters of Filmland covers, there has been virtually no Kiko merchandise in comparison. Until the 1980s, and in Japan. No attention came to King Kong in 1983, with the film's 50th anniversary. That year, a giant inflatable King Kong was moored to the Empire State Building. Or, they tried. It was a disaster in which the shipping crate housing the balloon couldn't fit into the elevator, then the balloon getting tangled when they finally got it to the top floor, then Kong springing a leak, then it became too windy on the actual day of the anniversary, then trying again the next day only for him to spring another leak and them just throwing in the towel on the whole incident. But 1983 was also the 50th anniversary of Son of Kong. General excitement and awareness around the anniversary inspired, among other things, a Son of Kong toy by Takara. The Choroju Kaishingeki, or Choro Beast Swift Attack line of figures, were a spin-off of the more famous Chorokyu, or Penny Racer line of toy cars. A little bit of trivia is that a transforming robot version of Chorokyu was imported to the West as the mini-bots in Transformers, which is why Bumblebee, Cliffjumper, Huffer, and the gang look so chibi. They are chibi. Back to Choro Beast, these keychain-sized monsters could shoot sparks when run across a surface. The overall line includes dozens of different monsters, including the Gamera, Ultraman, and Daimajin franchises, and professional wrestlers Giant Baba and Stan Hansen, headlined by Godzilla. There was even a subline of Godzilla in women's clothes because you don't know that he isn't female. Among those monsters were a ferocious King Kong and a hapless-looking Kiko, both released in 1983. And here are the Kong Choro Beasts. So King Kong, of course, and Kiko, the son of Kong. So this King Kong here looking rather ferocious, and he is supposed to do the whole shooting sparks. I don't know if you can see that on video. He's got the wheel on the bottom. They all do. All the Godzilla ones, Daimajin, etc. have this wheel on the bottom, which is supposed to cause sparks to shoot out of their mouth. This one is actually copyright 1983 Universal Studios. So that's who Takara managed to clear it with. But that's Kong, looking ferocious. And then here we have Kiko, looking cute and hapless. And same idea, roll him along, sparks shooting out of his little surprised looking face here. And this one actually copyrighted not to Universal Studios, but just to Kiko. More significant yet was a marketing campaign by Kodak in 1984. For some reason, they fixated on Kiko as an adorable, sympathetic mascot to sell Kodacolor VR film.
キコ、パパはキングコング。どこ行ったの、パパ。
今、コダカラーでキコちゃんプレゼント。いい色だから、コダカラー VR フィルム。
The commercial tells the rough outline of the campaign, which is elaborated in a pamphlet. Little Kiko used to enjoy the days in the sun on Skull Island, playing with his dad and presumably fighting dinosaurs and things. But then one day, his dad left to go work in New York, abandoning sad little Kiko to stand on the beach and gaze out longingly over the waves. That is, until one day when he decides to go to New York to find his papa. I have no idea if King Kong is actually alive and working in New York in this campaign, or if this is just the saddest marketing campaign without a Sarah McLachlan soundtrack. The pamphlet also gives some vital stats for Kiko, like his height at 128 centimeters, whereas his father is 18 meters. His weight, 80 kilograms. His hobby, collecting dress-up dolls. He can play saxophone and make popcorn. His birthday was February 9th, 1933. His sign is Aquarius. His home, Skull Island in the South Indian Ocean. His family is just his dad. His mom is missing, but he has an uncle, Joe Young. He's also innocent, lonely, shy, sensitive, and something else that Google can translate. To go along with the campaign were at least two variations of a button. Both feature the same graphic of Kiko, his name, and his identity as the son of Kong. But one adds the question of Kiko who? Probably because a lot of people at the time had no idea about the son of Kong. But to cap the whole thing off was a plush doll of Kiko, identical to the stop-motion model in the commercial and emblazoned with a Kodak sweater advertising Kodacolor VR film, and his identity as the son of Kong. And here is a closer look at the Kiko plush that Kodak put out. Little tuft of hair up there with the gorilla thumb-sucking action that a lot of gorilla plushes had in the 1980s. It's got his little sweater on here, advertising Kodachrome VR film, and on the back it says that in English as well, and then the Kiko Son of Kong logo there. Just a delightful little piece of just strange, obscure King Kong related merchandise here. Just absolutely adorable. Unfortunately, further information on this marketing campaign is scarce on the internet. It was, after all, a brief campaign in Japan 40 years ago. Just by having the commercial and a few dolls and buttons kicking around, we probably know more about this than any other Kodak campaign in Japan in the 80s. As for why they chose Kiko, really it's anyone's guess. If I were to hazard my own, he does nicely fit the Japanese urge to chibi-eyes everything, including giant monsters. Godzilla has been chibi-eyed twice, for the Godziland and the Chibi Godzilla cartoons, and technically again for Godziban, which is literally the funniest show on YouTube. So that might bring Kodak around to wanting a Chibi Kong. But King Kong doesn't lend himself to being chibied that well, and there had already been a bit of a copyright brouhaha over Donkey Kong. King Kong probably wasn't very safe for Kodak to use, but his little cute kid? Well, you can work with that. And as far as anybody knows, Kiko isn't a trademarked or copyrighted name. Or at least it wasn't, until Kodak came along. Kiko was just a production nickname and never used in the actual film. So, new attention around the 50th anniversary of King Kong and Son of Kong, as well as a copyright-free, cutesy character that lends itself to chibiing, that might be the best explanation we can come up with for why Kodak made a mascot of the Son of Kong.